Welcome everyone to our virtual Friendsgiving. We'll be learning a delicious side dish recipe from Chantal Marcial, which is roasted carrots and Brussels sprouts. And later on, we'll also be hearing from community members about their own Thanksgiving traditions, what happens when you have chronic illness during the holidays, and their favorite recipes. You can get the recipe links in the description below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hope you enjoy.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my Creaky Kitchen for this lifestyle event. Like we said, I'm going to be making a great side dish that is good for Friendsgiving, Thanksgiving, any holiday, hey, anytime. Brussels sprouts are back. We probably all had a really contentious relationship with Brussels sprouts as kids. I know I did, because the only way I ever had them was boiled, and it was not a good time. But Brussels sprouts are in a moment right now, and I make them quite a bit. There's a lot of different ways to make them. This is just one really simple way to do it. You can get fancy. You can do them in a salad. You can do them in cast iron on the stove with bacon and maple. That's what I'm doing for my Thanksgiving. But this is a great side dish. It's a great kind of hands-off once it's in the oven. You don't really have to do much to it. And on top of that, it's great to do while your bird is resting or what have you, because it does take the oven. And I know that that's controversial to use the oven for anything other than your major centerpiece for the holiday. But this is definitely worth it. So let's get into what we're doing today. So I took a little bit of help from the store. The ingredients that we're going to be using are going to be some Brussels sprouts. We're going to be using these great multicolored baby carrots, and that's where I took some help from the store. We've got our balsamic glaze, our cranberries, and our toasted. I already got them dry toasted and unsalted from the store, so it took a little bit of help from the store there. You can toast them at home if you like. Just put them into a dry pan over medium heat. Watch them like a hawk, because they go from toasty and delicious to burnt and useless in 2 seconds. I say that from a lot of personal experience. So we're going to be using all of that. I have some fresh rosemary, some fresh thyme, and I have a red onion here. This came today with my grocery delivery. It's a big boy. We're only going to use probably about half of this because it's gigantic. It's a softball. And then as kind of like a little bonus, I have a couple of heads of garlic here. We're only going to do one. So anytime that I have a roasting pan like this, which is, your average sheet pan, a half hotel sheet pan, and I've got some parchment paper on it. This one is the one that you don't feel guilty if you buy it, because it's called If You Care. But it's unbleached parchment paper, and I just crumple it a little bit so that it lays flat. Otherwise, it just rolls back up like a scroll over and over again. So anytime I do something like this, and I have a head of garlic, I cut off the top, add a little bit of olive oil, some flaky salt or regular kosher salt, a little pepper, and whatever herbs I have lying in my vegetable bin. Wrap it up in tin foil, and usually in about the same time that your vegetables are done roasting, you're going to have a beautiful roasted head of garlic. And for the holidays especially, you're going to be making all kinds of different sides and everything. And one of the things that my family likes a lot is roasted garlic mashed potatoes. So with this, you've knocked out one of your major ingredients while you're doing your side. So it's kind of like a twofer. Make your oven do the work of 2 recipes all at once. So onwards and upwards. Like I said, I took a little bit of help from the store, and I got these adorable, they're so cute. They're multicolored carrots. Now, my recipe calls for about a half a pound of carrots, cut into 1-inch pieces. So that would be taking the carrots and cleaning them, and then using your peeler and peeling them and then chopping them down. That can be a little bit difficult sometimes with our, hands, joints, wrists, things like that. So this is a great way to take a little bit of help from the store and go ahead and grab yourself a bag of mini carrots. So those are going to go into this big bowl. This big bowl is what I'm going to use to mix for today. Sometimes I would do this just on the platter, but because we've got a bunch of different things going in, I like to kind of do it, toss it in a bowl so that everything's coated evenly. And then this becomes my garbage bowl. See how easy that was. So then the next thing are our Brussels sprouts. So these little guys have a root end and then the bulb end, and we're going to slice through the root end. These have already been picked through and washed, and they're dry because I've been here for the whole day waiting to start filming. So I'm just going to cut these through the root end and we'll buzz through that. And then I'm going to slice up half of this onion and we're going to toss everything in the bowl. So give me a second, we'll get all these cut. And yes, it's tedious to cut them one by one. So I know that this isn't for everyone, but at the store now, again, more tips for help from the store, they have these packages of these same Brussels sprouts that are already cut in half. They also have them where they have been julienned, and you can use those like raw in a salad, or you can toss them on into a frying pan and do them on the stovetop with a myriad of different flavors. DM me if you want ideas. I have a ton. And if you don't want to do it like this, if you have a food processor with a blade attachment that goes up top, you can run them through that way to get that same julienne. So Corey, if you'd like, you can go ahead and recap our ingredients for everyone on the call tonight and who's going to be tuning in on YouTube later.
All right, for everyone who did not check the recipe beforehand or just needs a quick recap, here's a list of the ingredients before we get started. You're going to need a pound of Brussels sprouts. You can trim and cut those in half through the root. A half pound of carrots, peel them, cut them into roughly about 1-inch pieces. 1 small red onion, slice that. Olive oil, kosher salt, and black pepper. Don't forget the fresh thyme or rosemary. Also, a 1/4 cup of dried cranberries, and then you can optionally add a 1/4 cup of sliced almonds or a balsamic glaze, or both, up to you. Now, back to Chantel.
Thanks so much, Corey.
Chantel, it's Zoe, and I have a question for you. I'm wondering why you chose this recipe and if it's a good one if I'm planning on having guests over this Thanksgiving.
Great question, Zoe. I chose this recipe strictly because I want to change the attitude around Brussels sprouts, number one. And number two, because I always find that there's like this downtime when I'm hosting and the turkey has come out and there's really nothing in the oven going on. All the other sides are done and kind of heated up. And this is a way to bring like something that's just crisp and fresh. Even though it is a roasted vegetable, it still has a crispness to it. And I think that that is a great addition to the table with everything being so rich. So I chose this as kind of something a little bit different that you don't always see. There's another edition of this recipe that has maple syrup in it. And it looked so good, but I couldn't find any like great maple syrup at the store. And while I'm going along here, feel free in the chat box to ask any questions. We're happy to answer them live or at the end. So feel free to go ahead and fill that chat up with questions and suggestions if you have any. So I'm just going to cut this onion a little bit less than half of it through the root. I'm going to take off the outer peel like you normally would an onion, and then I'm just going to slice it if it cooperates with me, which it won't, of course. And this is just like a 1/4-inch slice. Now, I'm not always the best with this because, like I said, my hands aren't always perfect. So I have a mandolin slicer that I employ when I can't do this. And that's a great tool to have in the kitchen. I think my father bought it probably 30 years ago and it's still working. So it's not broke. No need to fix it. So I'm going to add 2 sprigs of rosemary to this big bowl of veg. I'm going to cut it up a little bit, but rosemary does have that tough, woody stem, so it's not too easy to get through. And it's also not very delicious to eat, but it is great to perfume the vegetables. So it's generally going to get picked out when folks are eating this anyway. So I don't go for too tiny of a chop. I just do a rough chop on it. Yep, that's a tough stem. So I'm going to stop right there. And that's going to go in. And while I'm at it, while I'm in the chopping mood, I'm going to off with their head this head of garlic. And like I said, this is just to roast alongside, and you can use this on the day of with a ton of different recipes. It's even great with like your crudité platter. You can put it on there. People can smear it on bread. It's delicious. So that's going to go into this little piece of foil. We're just going to make a little package for it. A little bit of olive oil, kosher salt, and a couple of cracks of black pepper. Ball that up, stick it in the corner. Now we've got this to deal with, our big bowl of veg. We're going to add in part of the almonds. These, like I said, they're already toasted, so they don't need much more in the oven, but they do add, like I said, a nice perfume to the whole. Ooh, that was slippery. I just filled this. So going to give a few glugs. What is that? About 1/4 cup of olive oil. And then salt and pepper. If you don't use a lot of sodium in your cooking, you can skip this and go with like a seasoned herb blend. Those are great and low sodium. And some cracked black pepper. I like a lot of pepper. And then we take our wedding ring off because we don't want to get black pepper in it, because I don't want to take it to go get clean this week. And clean hands, best friends, toss this all about. If you want to be fancy, you can hold the bowl and shake it, which is, I'm sure, what Corey would do, but not there today. Now, this is enough for 2 sheet pans worth of vegetables. Just want to let you guys know that. So this is enough to make double what I'm making right now. So I'm going to only use about half of this. So I'm going to dump some out. And the reason why we're only using half is because we want to leave space for this stuff to roast and not steam. And I'm going to go ahead with the Brussels sprouts. And it seems a little bit tedious, but trust me, it's worth it. And turn them all cut side down. And that contact is going to get you that browning that you're looking for. So I'm going to show this to you guys in a second. But what I'm doing is I am turning all of the Brussels sprouts cut side down so that they have contact with the parchment, so they get the browning that we're looking for. And let me go ahead and show you guys what this looks like. Can you guys see? So as you can see, all the Brussels sprouts are cut side down. And we've got a lot of space in between everything so that we promote browning and roasting and not steaming. So this is going to go into our oven, which has been preheated to 425. And I'm going to give it 15 minutes. And then I'm going to give it a little jiggle, take a look at the Brussels sprouts, see if I got some color going on, and then spin it around, give it another 15 minutes. So now that everything's cooking, we're going to go ahead and launch a quick Zoom survey. So you'll see something pop up on your screen. Remember, all your answers are anonymous. And we just want to get to know, what are you guys going to do for this holiday? You plan on keeping it low key and staying at home, maybe whooping it up and having a Friendsgiving party, or are you going to hang out with family? Let us know. Oh my goodness, I forgot, brain fog, to add the thyme to the garlic. I told you guys that I was going to add an herb to the garlic, and it actually goes really well with the mashed potatoes. So let me go ahead and pop that out, throw in the thyme, and in the meantime, I guess Corey has a question for me?
So as we get toward the holiday season and everyone wants to be really busy with family and friends and food and everything else that we have going on, what is your plan around the holiday season to make sure that you incorporate self-care into your routine?
So let me put this back in and then I'll answer Corey's question. Whew, steam bath. So I plan on doing a lot of cooking, obviously. I'm going to be with close family and friends for the holiday. But I also recognize that I need to take time to recharge and to do a little self-care. So I have my planned visits to the Mani and Pedi Spa. I also have some time blocked out from work so that I don't have to worry about answering emails and things like that. As well as I'm just going to probably, if the weather is good, I'm going to start my favorite project, which is my holiday lights. So that's how I plan to kind of rest and recharge and make sure that everybody else is taken care of, but I am too. So everything is roasting away in the oven. Like I said, it's going to be about 15 minutes for the first part of it. And then I'm going to check the bottoms of those Brussels sprouts to see if I've got some doneness. Shake the tray a little bit and then rotate it. My oven's a little bit, so I got to rotate stuff. But all told, it'll be about 30 minutes of roasting time, give or take. You just want to make sure in the last few minutes to monitor those Brussels sprouts and make sure you got some good browning on the bottom. So I'll toss it back to you guys.
Thanks, Chantel. Let's check in on those survey results. I'm so curious how our community is celebrating. We had done a poll in our COVID-19 patient support program, and it seemed like most were doing family get-togethers with those who are vaccinated and testing before. So it looks like our community here tonight is doing similar, low-key get-together for the win. Everyone said 0 for Friendsgiving, but really it's 100 because we're doing that right now. So fooled you guys. For myself, I'll be here in Nashville celebrating with my mom. She's coming down, so I'll also be doing a low-key get together. And we hope everyone enjoys their celebrations, no matter what they are. We'll take a quick commercial break. Something really important is spreading awareness. And, a new topic that's really been coming up in our community is precision and personalized medicine. So we launched this program recently. So if you have rheumatoid arthritis or friends or family with rheumatoid arthritis, definitely take a look and share with them. It's your guide to precision and personalized medicine. All these beautiful faces you see here are the patients and Dr. Wright, a rheumatologist who were featured in our podcast. And, the podcast will just talk through a lot of the trial and error that comes when trying treatments. I think even if you don't have RA, you could probably relate to some part of this podcast and that long treatment journey that we often go through, and, the different emotions that come with it, the hope, the excitement, the fear. And then, a lot of technical information given in an easy way, like what patients want to know about precision medicine, what about flares, what about remission, how can we get better treatments that are more personal and targeted to us. So we really wanted to just help you all learn a little bit more about this complex topic in an easy and fun way. There's 2 audio guides as well. We'll drop a link in the chat because that's a little bit long of a title for you guys to snapshot quickly, but we hope you enjoy this program. And I think that the food is ready while I've been talking, so we will toss it back to Chantel to see how those roasted veggies turned out. And also, I put it in the chat, but somebody had asked about anti-inflammatory properties. And I know carrots are packed with vitamin A, which helps fight inflammation. And for Brussels sprouts, they're high in antioxidants, which also help reduce inflammation. So really good option this holiday season, as there's a lot of other stuff going on that can trigger flares, and just any good thing in your bucket that you can add that is going to be protective. I know I love to keep tally of all those things that'll help me. So I will turn it back to Chantel. Let's see how that oven is going.
Okay, hi you guys. We are back and everything is smelling amazing in here. It smells like the holidays. And I'm going to go ahead and take out our pan. Our beeper went off. Our timer's all set. Nice little steam bath there. And I have a whole other tray of this to roast later tonight. So pretty excited about that. So I'm just going to go ahead and take all of this off, toss it into a nice serving bowl, and then I'll show you how we're going to top everything. And maybe this serving bowl is a little bit too big, but that's okay. I'm making double. And everything got nice and roasted. Our onions are caramely. Oh, and it smells so good. Now, I used rosemary in this dish. Rosemary is controversial to some people. I know, even within my own family. Some people like it. Some people think it's too strong. So if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. The same thing goes for the thyme that I put in with the roasted garlic that I forgot at first, of course. Thyme is a lemony flavor, kind of, and definitely, obviously, because it's an herbaceousness. But if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. You can just go straight olive oil, salt, pepper. That's perfectly fine. Make all these recipes your own, to your own liking. Again, this has almonds in it. If you're allergic to almonds, don't use them. They do add a nice bit of crunch, but there's other ways to get that crunch. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off this bowl. I have some extra almonds here, and these are dry roasted, so they're not going to be as tasty as the toasty ones that are in here, but they'll add a nice pop of crunch. And then, because this is New England, dried cranberries all over the top. That's for a great bit of sweetness. There's an alternative to this recipe where you can take the carrots and actually toss them in a little bit of maple syrup before you put them on the sheet tray, just to add a little bit more caramelization to them. But, you know, to each his own, adds its own sweetness. And then I'm going to do a little bit of olive oil over top, a little bit of my favorite balsamic glaze. And that's going to add like a sweetness and a tartness to it at the same time. It's very easy to make reduced balsamic. You can do it in a pot at home. Put it on the back of the stove on low. It'll bubble up. It'll come down. You want to reduce it by a little bit more than half. And then my new favorite ingredient is Maldon salt. It's like a nice flaky sea salt. And it just adds not only a crunch, but a great flavor to any dish that you want to just have a little bit of specialty to. So that's it for this dish. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what it looks like. Can you see? So that is a wonderful side dish for your Friendsgiving, Thanksgiving, or any holiday, or hey, maybe even during the week. Now, remember that roasted garlic? Let me show you that. So remember that roast garlic that I threw in on the side of this sheet tray? Well, that's ready too. Like I said, I forgot to put my thyme in, so I reached in. I have kind of asbestos hands, so I did it without a pot holder, which you should not do, so use a pot holder. But here is our roast garlic, and it is super soft. I would even let it go a little bit longer. There's our thyme, and I'm going to just take it, pop it off, and what you can do, I don't know how I can show this to you, but essentially with tongs or with your hand, when it cools down a little bit, you're going to squeeze this head. I can't do it right now. It's a little bit too hot even for my hands. And all these soft roasted garlic cloves will come out, and you can use them in your mashed potatoes. You can use them as a spread, whatever you like. Add them to your olive oil. And there you go. That's what it looks like. I might actually put it back in for a few minutes. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I can't wait to hear what you guys are going to do for Thanksgiving and Friendsgiving. Like I said, this is a great side. I hope to see some of you make it. Post it to my Twitter if you want. And I'm going to take a taste because it smells so good and I've been waiting all day for this. Let's get a little bit of everything. So good. So good. You guys are going to really, really love this. I hope you try it. If you do, please let me know. Thank you so much for coming to this lifestyle event, and we hope to see you next time on Creaky Kitchen. Happy Thanksgiving.
Awesome. That sounded amazing. I cannot wait to make that because like many of you who are talking in the chat, I grew up disliking Brussels sprouts, but have discovered my love of them within the last 10 years. It started in part due to pancetta being added to it and bacon being added to it, and is now just to the point where I kind of just like Brussels sprouts. But thank you all for joining us. We wanted to bring people together this Friendsgiving so that we can kind of we can go back to what we started at as bringing the community together to discuss some memories and things about food that really just make us happy. And we all have a Thanksgiving memory of the past that is tied to a recipe or an event or something of that nature. And likely it has something to do with our chronic illness as well. So tonight you're going to hear from a couple people telling their story. I thought I'd kick us off. I don't know how many people are aware of this, but I myself have type 1 diabetes. I've had it since I was about 13 years old. And one of the first years that I had diabetes, a month after that was around Thanksgiving. And like many people in the United States, when Thanksgiving comes around, it revolves around football. And
It was that timing. It was that year that for somehow the Giants were playing on Thanksgiving. I'm a big Giants fan. My family has always been a big Giants fan. And so we decided to go to a Giants game. Like most good Giants fans, we tailgate in the middle of November. We're sitting in the back of our cars with grills out and beers. Well, not beers at 13, sodas at 13, but hanging out with our family and having a good time. I'm throwing a football with a friend again a month after being diagnosed with diabetes. So for anyone who doesn't know, when someone with diabetes hits low blood sugar, a couple things happen to them. Their hands start to get a little shaky. They start to sweat. They start to get usually hot heat flashes. Their knees get a little weak sometimes. Everyone's a little different. No, I like to say diabetics are kind of like snowflakes. None of us are exactly the same. But so the way that I was not feeling at the time, I didn't really notice. So I thought I was just tired from throwing a football around in the cold November air in New York State, or I guess New Jersey. Little did I know that my blood sugar, which for a diabetic is supposed to stay between 70 and 150 milligrams per deciliter, up to 200, depending on who the person is, my blood sugar had dropped to 20 milligrams per deciliter. So my father picked me up, put me in a car, and I am not a small person, lifted me into a car and started just shoveling chocolate chip cookies down my throat. So that is a memory about Thanksgiving that I always think about, and think about how far I've come for that in my personal journey with diabetes. I always get a little, obviously with football around, I always think about that. I have a lot of other kind of not diabetic memories around that time, but that's definitely one that has definitely informed my life going forward and kept me thinking about how I'm taking care of myself and how I am feeling in certain situations, regardless of where I am and what I'm doing. So that's my Thanksgiving memory that I wanted to share. I want to pass it to JP, who's going to share something herself.
Thank you, Corey. So I have memories of when I was younger, just spending Thanksgiving with my grandparents, and my grandma always made her cornbread stuffing. I was diagnosed with migraine at 10 years old, so onions is one of my triggers. So she had to alter it so that I was able to eat it. And she always makes me my own side of stuffing that no one else can touch. So that's something that even to this day, she is going to make stuffing. I unfortunately won't be there to enjoy it, but she is sending it with my aunt over my way. So I'll get it the very next day. But just like Corey, football is such a big thing. So sitting and watching football and just having that time with family is so important. And now that I also was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, and heart disease, I tend to take things a little bit easier, just pacing myself, but still able to enjoy the holidays with family when I'm able. And it's not always on Thanksgiving. I'm doing Thanksgiving this weekend, and I'm going to be doing a very small Thanksgiving with myself and my son on Thanksgiving Day. And then again, a few days later, doing another Thanksgiving. So again, just pacing yourself, not overdoing things is the best way. I know how to help myself with my health, but also it is, it is a form of self-care, because you're also being mindful to your body. And with the change in weather, for some people that tend to have issues, but also just doing too much can really wear you out. So again, just the favorite memory is just spending time with family, which I love being able to do each year, no matter if it's a family or just one other person. It's just making those memories. Oh, and then decorating right after Thanksgiving. So getting ready to decorate the tree.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, JP. That's a great story. Before I pass it to our next person, I wanted to ask another poll we're going to put out. So you're going to see that pop up. The poll question is going to be, what type of events do you want to see from us in the future? Creaky Kitchen is kind of how this all started, based around food and nutrition. But do you want to see something around exercise, social support, mental health, life hacks, something else? Really select anything that applies. because we'd like to grow this and do other things beyond just the kitchen. So give us your experience, give us your answer. We're really excited to see what you have to say. Now, the next person we'd like to hear from is Candace.
So growing up, my mom was always in charge of making most of the things for Thanksgiving, regardless of where we were going. If Thanksgiving was at our house or we were going to my aunt's house, my mom always had like an assignment list. She was also always assigned to make macaroni, always assigned to make specific foods. And so a couple of years back, I really kind of cut my diet down to only limited foods that I could eat. And so similar to what she just shared, my mom would kind of make a side version of each dish of the, like, I told her, like, it's not fair if you make this and I can't eat it. It's not fair. I would guilt trip her. So she would have like little bowls. And then sometimes she was like, oh, I put meat in it. Oh, I put dairy in it. Oh, I have to go back, starting over, trying to make small versions and then like put them in her refrigerator, labeling Candace, this is for Candace, you know, so nobody else would touch it. So that's a fun memory that I have. And then spending time with my husband's family during Thanksgiving, you know, they also do Zoom for their Thanksgiving as well for family that's far away. And so one of the ways that benefits me is if I need to sneak out into like a dark room or if I need to take a nap, I'm still on Zoom. I'm still participating in the activities that are going on downstairs from another room with the lights completely black because I have migraine. And so, you know, a lot of times Thanksgiving, it can be a long day, you know, if you're bouncing around to different houses or even if you're just in the kitchen all day or if you're in the house all day. And so one of my recommendations I would have for those with migraine or even other health conditions that you just kind of similar to what she said, just kind of take, you know, pace it out, you know, and do what works for you. One tradition I think in my family that we never made official, but it seems to happen every year is where we starve ourselves until dinner. And I learned that is not going to work for me. I need to eat. And so I'm like, I'm getting everybody a snack at 10 o'clock. We're gonna pencil in snacks because otherwise we're all gonna be triggered. We're all gonna be in pain, and this is not gonna be a good day. And so that's kind of a tradition that I started myself, is bringing the snacks for my mom while she's cooking. Here you go, so you're not hangry, so that we can all enjoy dinner regardless. But yeah, those are some memories that I have and that I've learned even most recently in the past couple of years.
That's awesome. I love the snacks idea. I completely get that as someone who once a year fasts during the day and then eats a big meal for Yom Kippur. I know that if you take a whole day without eating and then eat a bunch of food, you're going to get a stomach ache.
Yeah.
So it is definitely a good idea to snack throughout the day and pace yourself a little bit. And I love that your mom makes food for you that's specifically labeled. My family is very similar in that regard, where we have the dressing that is just the meat one and the dressing that is just the vegetarian one. And we have the ones for the vegans. It's everything.
Yeah.
So it's great that she involves you like that. So next up, we're going to pass it to Effie.
So hi, I'm Effie, and I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis when I was 18. So throughout my whole young adult life, childhood, I didn't have RA. So I come from a Greek family. I'm first generation, me and my siblings are. And so we grew up with like, you know, our grandparents around and my parents too. So like food was a big emphasis. You know, our family had a restaurant too. So in general, though, like when we were growing up, we would go to our grandma's house, my grandpa's house, and we would have like a lot of the Greek traditional food that had a lot of gluten and dairy. A lot of the Mediterranean diet talk out there is that it's healthy, and it is, but not for me at that time, because unbeknownst, like later on, years later, I found out I had a gluten intolerance and dairy intolerance, like moderate to severe. So that was probably my whole childhood up until my diagnosis, for sure. And so, you know, I still enjoy like the Greek things that I grew up eating, like spanakopita and pasticcio, but now I make it like gluten-free and dairy-free. And at first it was pretty difficult, and it was like a big jarring like transition because no one in my family or friend group had this disease. So, you know, my mom had to like start learning how to make, you know, meals for me so I can eat safely and enjoy. But, you know, honestly, like there's so many recipes out there, and for the spinal colpita, for those of you guys who don't know, it's like basically just like a spinach pie, and the pasticcio is just like a Greek lasagna. And so instead of beef, I put turkey in there. And so there is a cookbook by Jennifer Esposito. She's an actress. She's celiac disease, but she makes like a really good crust. So we just like incorporate that because there's not really good phyllo crust out there yet that's gluten-free. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what my memories are, because I remember eating all those things and like not feeling well. And it was just like weird. And now I kind of know why that was. And then I just want to share quickly, because you guys mentioned like the Creaky Kitchen was kind of made through like the pandemic. And one like little like fun chronically ill tradition that me and my friends came up with was like painting little like porcelain things. I don't think you can see it because I have my thing on the background here, but we painted like this little wizard and then like a Christmas tree. And so that was fun over Zoom. And I have like a flamingo that I'll probably paint and put like a little Christmas light necklace on or something this year. So that's like a new tradition that we came up with the past 3 years. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you were able to kind of find something with your friends during this time.
Yeah.
It sounds great. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm really glad you were able to join us tonight. Next up, we wanted to invite Giovanni to share.
So, a premise, I'm not an American, I'm a 100% Italian. And so for me, Thanksgiving is always something different. And the last 2 Thanksgiving has been the best because even health-wise, I wasn't great. And this Thanksgiving is even special. In this moment, I am in Rochester, Minnesota, at the Mayo Clinic, and I will be until the 23rd, where when I will drive to Upper Peninsula, Michigan, to be with friends. And friends has been always Thanksgiving for me. And generally, I always prepare something that all my friends wants me to prepare. That is tiramisu, but which comes out really well. But this year really is my daughter that is replacing me with the tiramisu, and so this year I'm going to prepare just some pasta with the 3 colors and a ragu, even some ragu. So the problem is that I will be driving all night, and we will be on Thursday morning, and we will prepare this dinner. So, but for me, Thanksgiving has been always this being with friends and sharing food, a lot of food. I like to cook, so a lot of dishes. And and after 2 years that I didn't do it, parts for the pandemic, parts for my health, now I'm really ready to get to work again. And after this experience with the Mayo Clinic, fantastic, really, that I'm living now. It's really a different Thanksgiving for me, and especially because I encountered this great group that I've been following in the last couple of years, these Creaky joints, and so this really has been a great discovery for me.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So happy you're doing better. So happy you were able to join us. I, as someone who admittedly does not like coffee, I don't drink it at all. I don't like the taste. I think it's too bitter. I will eat an entire cake of tiramisu if it is put in front of me. It is the one thing that tastes like coffee that I don't care about that, because I will destroy it. And like it, and again, diabetic, I will eat it like it's my last meal.
I am diabetic too.
There we
So-
go. So see, we got it. We're mano a mano right here.
Yeah.
Well, Giovanni, again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being a part of our network, and I'm so glad you're feeling better. And I hope you have a good Thanksgiving with your friends. Next up, we wanted to invite Elisa, a longtime Creaky Joints member, to share her story with us.
Hey, Corey. Hey, everybody. I hope everybody's planning to have a great Thanksgiving. We do family stuff for Thanksgiving. Hey, Connor. We do family stuff. This year will be a little bit different for us. Some of you guys may be in my shoes this year or maybe in a previous year. This is our first bittersweet season without Mom. We lost her last year on Christmas Day. It was that night, and we have wonderful, wonderful memories. Mom had been sick for a long time, and she's not sick anymore. So it was a bittersweet day, but we are fixing all of Mom's favorites this year. And our family starts Thanksgiving at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and we go until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Maybe that's a Southern thing. You can probably tell I probably sound like I'm from South Georgia, because I really am. I'm actually dialing in from East Tennessee. But I used to do, and I'll do this year again, a bacon raspberry cheese ring. And it is gluten-free and it is sugar-free. I've not used the dairy-free cheese. I might have, somebody can tell me what a good dairy-free cheese is like. I don't know if there's like a coconut milk cheese or whatever, but somebody send me an idea and I'll try to use that and see what it tastes like. But we graze all day long. Mom and I are both pianists, and I have a piano sitting right beside my kitchen. And so we just cut loose on the piano and we dance around the kitchen, and we grab a cracker or a piece of celery with our raspberry cheese ball with extra bacon in it. Connor, I saw you like bacon down there. We put bacon on everything. If anything's wrong, rub a little bacon on it. It'll make it better. So we do the raspberry cheese ring, and it's delicious, and it's something you can just grab a quick little bite and keep going. And my dad is actually a diabetic also, so that kind of keeps him kind of steady throughout the day with a low carb alternative to all the sugary cookies and brownies and stuff. And we cook way too much food. I don't know if you guys do that too, but we eat Thanksgiving food for like 3 or 4 days. And it's delicious, and we enjoy our time together. And this last time that we were together with Mom, she and I were sitting at the piano playing together, 4 hands on the piano, and Dad and my daughter just started dancing around the kitchen, and we were dancing around the table and around the fireplace, and it was crazy fun. I don't know if anybody else does that or not, but we just let loose. We weren't sure how much longer we'd have Mom. So make your favorite things, enjoy your family and friend time, and dance all around the kitchen.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's a beautiful way to honor your mother. So happy you were able to be a part of this and share that with her. I know, or with us rather, about her. I know we'll all be thinking about her and you this season. And that's great advice. Dance around the kitchen like no one's watching. I know I do that every night when I cook. So it's a fun thing to do.
And take lots of pictures.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Elisa. And so to finish us off, I want to invite Shelly to be our last table guest tonight.
Okay, hi everybody. I just uploaded a PDF that I hope you can open. I can send the Word doc if that's easier. But anyway, it is of my mother's famous recipe that I think actually came from her mother. But it's called Linda's Dressy Stuffing Recipe. And I'm sharing this recipe, and I'm going to try not to break down, although Elisa almost had me there, because I lost my mom in 2016 and my dad in 1996, 20 years before. So Thanksgiving doesn't really, it's not the same anymore. Just going to be blunt. And I've moved 4,000 something miles away from my siblings and my children right now. So we're just far apart, not just because of the pandemic, but because of other circumstances as well. So it's made Thanksgiving really different now. But what is really important that Elisa said was to make to honor. I love the way you're honoring your mom by making the recipes that you made as a family, because this is one of them. This stuffing recipe, it's not we call it dressing because it's not the stuffing that goes in the turkey. And I changed the recipe over the years when I became intolerant to any amount of gluten, and then dairy intolerant in the last several years. But the recipe originally was had chicken broth in it and other things in it. So I made some modifications. And so when we had Thanksgiving, my mother was still with us. It was always at her house. People would travel from wherever. My siblings would come in. Everybody would gravitate to my mom's house. She was the one who always hosted Thanksgiving over the years. And so we all would bring different dishes, and we'd always make the same. Someone would be in charge of her famous sweet potato casserole. And I took on the dressing just because I wanted to make things that I could eat because all of the recipes were full of gluten and dairy. I couldn't eat anything. And it was really disappointing to me because I wanted to participate in all the family favorites, but I couldn't without getting really sick. So that's when I started making these smaller versions of it. And then one year I made the large 9x12 casserole version of this dressing and put it out there next to hers. And people ate from both of them and they did like a taste test. They're like, I can't tell which one's, Linda's and which one's Shelly's. I was like, yes, that's when I know I've made it. So this one came out as a decent, not just decent, but awesome gluten-free recipe. So I put several different modifications in the recipe in case you eat meat and you want to have the chicken broth. If you want to use vegetable broth or you want to use a cream of mushroom soup, I put a recipe in for that as well, because I've made it all different ways. And it's just one of those very special recipes. I've never shared it before. This is the first time outside of the family. So it's like this top secret recipe, which I don't know, probably came from like a Betty Crocker cookbook somewhere. I don't even know. But we're going to say it was Linda's dressy stuffing recipe. So I hope you enjoy it. And thanks for letting me share. I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving.
That's awesome, Shelly. Thank you so much. I know that when you finally pass your parents or you match them in that cooking realm, it's always such a big momentous occasion. I know that when I finally got that a seal of approval on my sourdough from my dad and my mom, that was the thing where it was just like, oh, he lets me make that now. So that's where I finally was like, yes, I got this. I made it. So thank you so much for sharing, and really thank you everyone for sharing. That wraps up our Friendsgiving table guest segment, and really that wraps up our third annual Friendsgiving. So thank you everyone for joining tonight. This has been really amazing. And so fun to hear your stories and to really just connect about this and see how far we've come as a Creaky Kitchen community. Please keep an eye out for our event next month, which will have a physical health theme to it and physical wellness theme to it, and see what Chantel will be cooking up for us next month. As you take a look to see what the second poll came to, we will definitely keep this in mind as we think about future shows to produce and ways we can create content for you all. So thank you again for joining, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.